What's going on, Graveyard Shift family? It is your fearless shift leader, Dalen Spratt, clocked in for another amazing shift, y'all. But today the scenery is a little bit different. I know that don't help it none. You're like, that could be anywhere. That could be Tulsa, Alabama. Well, you're wrong. Because we are here in London. Your boy has crossed the pond. Y'all, but I am about to meet up with a young lady by the name of Jessica. Jessica runs a YouTube page that I'm going to put the name of right now on the screen, called The Museum Guide, where she goes all over and she just does some very, very interesting exploring herself. So I ran across her on YouTube. I was watching some of her videos and I was like, hey, I'm coming to London. I wonder if she would meet up with me. And sure enough, she agreed to it. So y'all, we're about to meet up with my new friend. Well, she about to be my friend because we ain't really met yet, technically. Listen, man, I sent 2 emails and I texted her. So we basically BFFs by now. Yeah, so next time you see me, you'll see her. Love, love, love. All right, Graveyard Shift family, here we are with my friend, my new friend, Miss Jessica.
I'm Jessica, the Museum Guide, and you may know me from my own YouTube channel, which is The Museum Guide. And I take people on really cool tours of museums, oddities, graveyards, pubs, and churches in London to find the strangest things. And Dalen's asked me to show him around some creepy and macabre places in London. And I definitely thought about this area first. Okay, the first place we're going to talk about is this Old Bailey, which is the central criminal court for London. Now today it's a courthouse, and you can see on the very top there with the sun in our eyes, Lady Justice holding her scale and her sword. But this building is actually relatively young, built only in 1902. However, before this was the massive medieval Newgate prison. And on this site where we're standing right now, from the middle of the 18th century to the middle of the 19th century, this was the public gallows for the hangings that would take place outside of Newgate prison. This fountain is roughly the size here. Before the 1750s, people would be hanged in Hyde Park, in what was called the Tyburn tree, which wasn't a tree at all. It was a huge triangular scaffold. But later on, the gallows was moved here to be just outside of the prison, and the public hangings would take place with crowds of up to 40,000 people watching. This is Saint Sepulchre without Newgate, and it's inside this church where you'll find a handbell. That bell would be rung outside of the prisoner's jail cell the night before they were going to be executed at the gallows outside. Saint Sepulchre also has a really twisted secret. Come in, I'll show you. Okay, watch out. The area is pretty dead right now, but we're going to stand in the street, but just watch out. Okay. Yeah, watch out. Come here. Here you can see it says Watch House, erected 1791. It was destroyed by the German bombs in 1941, but then they rebuilt this little watch house in 1962. Now by 1962, they didn't have any reason for it, but it was just a quaint little historical oddity, so they rebuilt it. But I'm going to take you somewhere a bit quieter and tell you why they had to build this in the first place in 1791. I told you I would tell you why they needed a watch house at a church in 1791. And just to be clear, watch house means that it was a place for a security guard to sit. Why does a church need a security guard? Well, it's because it's the same year that this building was built, 1791. This is the founding of the Barts Hospital School of Medicine. Putting a medical school across the street from a church in 1791, you have one profession in particular that's going to be all over that church, the body snatchers. And they prefer to be called the Resurrection Men. Now, the Resurrection Men would go to the churchyard, dig up the freshly buried bodies, and then take them to a nearby pub where the medical students from Bart's Medical School would meet them after hours. They would then bid on the best bodies. What were they doing? Well, they weren't necrophiliacs. They were there to get bodies to do autopsy on. Autopsy really came into fashion for medical students as early as the 1760s, 70s, and 80s. But it was illegal to acquire the body. There was no legal way to acquire the bodies. So this was all done as a big open secret. I love what it says here. Whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might. It doesn't have anything to do with the body snatchers. I just think it's a fantastic slogan there. Now, if you look up, you can see that this side of the building has no windows. Why is that empty? Why is there no windows there? Well, that's because it has a huge glass roof. And behind those walls are thousands of body parts in jars collected from those Victorian autopsies for medical students to learn on.
Till this day?
To this day, it's the Barts Pathology Museum.
I know you can. Yeah, for sure.
I'll show you a picture, but you should put this picture up on the screen for you.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Here at this museum. So this is safe right there. That's what's inside. So that's why there's no windows, because it has a glass roof, so that you can have all these. See, these are all body parts in jars.
Look at this.
And I worked there.
So you've seen those body parts in pieces in real time.
My job was to repot them.
So you repot body parts?
I did.
Okay, Jeffrey. That's wild.
A lot of them were from the grave robbers. That was the only way to acquire bodies for autopsy.
So there's body parts from hundreds of years ago in there?
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing new. There's no new body parts. We don't do that anymore.
There's no new body parts.
These days, we don't do that kind of medical. We have better textbooks and digital models, etc. But in case you think I'm over-exaggerating, if anything, on my channel, I'm known for under-exaggerating. I'm the truth, and nothing but the truth.
And I can vouch for that.
But wait, we don't want to get... The Fortune of War was the chief house of call. House in this case means pub, north of the river for the resurrectionists in body snatching days. The landlord used to show the room where on benches around the walls the bodies were placed, labeled with the snatchers' names, waiting till the surgeons at St. Bartholomew's could run round and appraise them. So they would come and choose the best body parts.
That is wild. Did you see some pretty stout body parts when you were in there?
Well, the ones that tended to stay on display were ones that were unusual, so diseased.
Oh, wow.
Pathology means they're diseased body part museum. You can see on the top it says Schola Medicinae Sancti Bartholomew 17. And that's just Latin for Bart's School of Medicine.
Got you.
Just up here you can see Henry VIII, and he's the infamous king famous for having 6 wives. Of course, he beheaded his second wife and his 5th wife, but that's a different story.
Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. No, you don't.
No, you never.
No, you never have to.
I have a video all about his wives that you can watch on my channel. But Henry VIII is here as the only outdoor statue of Henry VIII in London, because he actually gave permission to this hospital to do a little bit of dissecting as early as the 1530s of human bodies. He gave them 6 per year, but it just wasn't enough. By the way, this medical school, it sits in a hospital, and the hospital is called St. Bartholomew's. It's founded in 1123. So this is a 900-year-old hospital. We're going to visit the church that it's named for, which is also 901 years old. The problem in London, I'm trying to show Dalen, like, you know, spooky stuff, but you can't walk around in London and not see things that you just got to talk about. So I wanted to just point out these marks on the wall here. Most people would see this and think that they were from World War II. And you'd be correct in almost every place in London that this is Blitz bomb damage. But this isn't Blitz bomb damage. This is actually the only remaining visible damage in London from bombs that fell during World War I.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. They just chose to just leave it, huh?
Yeah, it's as a memorial. It's an unusual memorial so that you can remember what happened here.
So you were saying that you do all this history tours, you research, you know all this wealth of knowledge and history and stories, but you don't believe in ghosts.
I don't. I want to, and then what happens is I go, oh yeah, okay, oh wow, it's scary, okay, and then something in my brain, it's my mom's voice goes, nah. She taught me that way.
So knowing all this history and walking all these paths,
I think it makes me believe in it less.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Because it's not as unusual in this area.
So have you ever had anything unexplainable happen?
No.
Or nothing that you just ever just been like, that's interesting. You
I
just
want
brushed it
to.
off?
Here, universe, I'm ready. I'm ready. No. Ooh, this is where I was hoping we were going to get to go, Dalen, but I think there's a wedding on. Hang on. So, this is St. Bartholomew the Great, and this church is founded in 1123 by a monk called Rahir or Rahirius. Now, Rahir is entombed inside in an effigy. The effigy is a few hundred years younger than when he was buried here. However, in the 1950s, some archaeology students from King's College came and did a little bit of excavation on the church. They opened up Rahir's crypt, they had a look inside, and they took one of his sandals for testing, and then they closed it back up.
What?
And ever since then, people have sworn that they have seen a monk wearing one sandal walking around the area, including in the nearby hospital. Dalen will come back and have a look around the church and see Rahir a little bit later on. Let me tell you something. Why on earth would the front of the church be up so much higher than where we're standing here? Like, why is this retaining wall built here? What's it retaining? Might not like the answer. This is one of London's historic churchyards, and churchyard has a synonym, graveyard. Before the advent of modern cemeteries in the 1820s and 30s, people were buried out in front of the church. Now, with a church as old as this one, 900 years old, it needed more room. So over time, not only does it make it to ground level, you have to build this wall to wall in all of the corpses.
So beneath this wall here, there's literally people buried up to your shoulder?
Tens of thousands.
What?
Now this is the reason. Let's move away from these lovely people about to go to a wedding. Cleared a lot of the graveyards, moved the tombstones aside, as you can see, and turned them into parks. And you're not allowed to build on top of them. So while this might be a lovely little park in front of the church, it's actually the old historic graveyard. The state of these graveyards, I'm telling you, in the 1820s, 30s, and 40s, when London's population skyrocketed, became so putrid and so horrible that these were causing sickness in the population. It was getting into the water, and just the smell in the air was rotten. And so London had to do something. We took the lead of Paris, and we followed the example of the Père Lachaise Cemetery in Paris. and we built 7 magnificent cemeteries that are today called the Magnificent Seven, then on the outskirts of London, including Highgate Cemetery, which is one of the most famous. Today, those are in pretty much central-ish London. They're not outside the city got bigger, and they are really, really beautiful places to visit. But the churchyards finally stopped being the place where we buried our dead.
Wow. So these are actual...
This is a grave here. This is just a specific type of grave, of stone tomb that became in fashion. When I talk about the body snatchers too, you can find it, if you look online, you can find pictures of something called mort safes. They were big iron cages that you would put on top of a grave to prevent grave diggers from getting inside. Or grave robbers. Sometimes I see those images on like BuzzFeed lists and it'll say like, cage to keep vampires in the grave. No, it's not to keep us safe from the dead. It's to keep the dead safe from people so that you can't dig in. And this would be something similar.
I've never seen a tombstone like this.
You would have had to be pretty rich to afford a tombstone as well.
Yeah.
In the 1820s or 30s, it wasn't common. And today, 90% of British people are cremated.
Oh, wow. So this person died in 1798, 2 years. That was a baby.
Yeah, lots and lots.
John Flores was his name.
So when I walk around this area with school kids, I always ask them, you know, what do you think used to be down here? And kids love moats. I was like, there must have been a moat surrounding the church. No, this is street level from 1,000 years ago. So when this church was founded in 1123, founded by that monk right here, he was a friend of King Henry I, and he went and had a vision that Saint Bartholomew, who was skinned alive, told him to build a church here at Smithfield. And because he was friends with the king, he ended up getting funding to do that. And some say he was even the king's court jester, but it's debated. And he built this here, and over time, cities get taller and taller and taller. Of course, it's even taller at the front because they had to build the extra retaining wall to contain the graveyard.
That is wild. So it's just literally bodies upon bodies upon bodies.
I think Charles Dickens said, all of London is a graveyard.
So prophetic.
The hand and shears, focusing on that. See, I remember I told you everything's going to connect. The hand and shears last ales before Newgate public executions. So if you were going to be executed at Newgate prison, you could have a last drink to steady your nerves. And so this is claiming to be one of the places where you could get that drink.
Wait, so you're saying when people were about to be executed, that the people were so gracious, they will allow them to stop at a bar like this?
Oh, I don't know that they were gracious. It's more so that you didn't kick up a fuss when you were about to be hanged in public.
Right.
It was called a St. Giles Bowl, and because one of the places they used to stop when you were hanged at Hyde Park was in St. Giles in the Fields, and you would have a bowl filled with liquor or beer. Makes you more easy to, maybe it's gracious, good hospitality, or maybe it's just so that you're a little bit drunk and you don't fight back.
Wow.
Let's head back and we'll go see William Wallace. I'll get my camera.
For all of my Graveyard Shift family that likes a little taste, what would be your last drink? Put it in the comment section. Let me know what your last drink would be if you were walking to the gallows. Is it a Jack and Coke? Is it a little bit of that Hennessy like Grandma Deb would taste? Or would it be a little Pinot Grigio? Let me know in the comment section.
Dalen, do you know who William Wallace is?
I sure don't.
You might. Do you remember the movie Braveheart?
Yes.
And you remember what Mel Gibson, Blueface paint? Freedom!
Yes,
That's William Wallace. Mel Gibson is portraying a very fictionalized version of William Wallace in the movie Braveheart. And however, it's here that William Wallace was executed in the year 1305 at this area called Smithfield.
Really?
Now, Smithfield is really special because it is untouched by the Great Fire of London in 1666, and a lot of the areas sustained minimal bomb damage in World War II. So we have buildings here that are much older, like St. Bartholomew's Church survives. Near this site on Smithfield, which is named for a smooth field, this is where William Wallace was brought after he was found guilty of high treason by our King Edward II, who is also called Edward Longshanks, or Hammer of the Scots. William Wallace was fighting on the side of the Scottish, and our king at the time was trying to take over Scotland. And so William Wallace said, "You can try me for treason, but that's not my king." Regardless, he was found guilty of high treason, which is 3 crimes: a crime against God, a crime against king, and a crime against country. So if you've been guilty of 3 crimes, you need
a lawyer.
You need 3 deaths. That's what it was believed. So he was hanged, drawn, and quartered. William Wallace was first brought here, dragged behind a horse and cart from the Tower of London. A lot of people think that's where the word drawn comes from, because he was drawn behind the horse. It's not. First, when he gets here, he's already battered, bruised, bloody. He's hanged, and then he's given some air and taken down. He's hanged again, given some air, and this goes on and on. Next, he's still alive. He is drawn. And that's where the word, to be drawn means you're cut from your chin all the way down to your groin. Your intestines are pulled out, and they were grilled on a charcoal grill in front of him, and his genitals were cut off and grilled in front of him as well. You guys should see the look on
God dang! They gonna barbecue his balls? Barbecue balls, y'all! God.
He's still alive.
How is he still alive after with all of that?
And then, I think at some point he passed away, but ideally you'd still be alive for this. And then his arms and legs are attached to 4 horses, and the horses slowly walk until his body was torn into 5 pieces.
So this is a true story.
This is 100% true. This happened to a lot of people. If you've ever heard the term to be hanged, drawn, and quartered, means that this is what happened to you.
Like what the average person, right, that was hanged, drawn, and quartered.
You'd have to be committed of a pretty serious
crime.
crime.
It had to be something serious, right?
Crime.
Okay.
Treason, usually.
Okay, all right. Not like a drunk night owl.
You don't steal a chicken from the market and you're getting hanged, drawn, and quartered.
Okay.
This is for serious business. And they wanted to make out, they wanted to say about William Wallace, listen, this is what's going to happen to you if you try to fight back against the king. But the joke's on them, because look, we're what, 719 years later, and he's still considered one of the great Scottish patriots. People bring these things. We've got thistles, symbol of Scotland. This is the Scottish flag. Little glass ornament with a thistle, and the Wallace family crest and tartan here. People bring stuff here for William Wallace all the time.
So this is the movie, this is what Braveheart was built off of, made off of.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Smithfield, hangings, burnings, and martyrdom. Well, we've already talked about Sir William Wallace and the hangings over at Newgate Prison. But one thing that we haven't talked about here is the martyrs who were burned at the stake under Queen Mary I. Dalen, do you know what Queen Mary I's nickname was?
Y'all, she don't know I failed history. She don't know that, y'all. Oh, but she gonna learn today.
I bet you do know. What is can you think of a queen? It's got a Mary and it's kind of something else to her name.
Mary Jane. I mean,
Bloody Mary.
God, I was close. I swear to y'all, Bloody Mary was gonna be my second guess.
Mary I was Henry VIII's daughter with Catherine of Aragon, and she tried to make England Catholic again after Henry VIII made it Protestant. And so she had anybody who was clinging too closely to the new Protestant religion, she had them burned at the stake or killed in other interesting ways. Some people say that here, and you want to show this beautiful building, this is the Smithfield Meat Market, that because there was a meat market here, she had them boiled alive in pots of oil. So anybody that wouldn't convert back to Catholicism, which is what she wanted, she had them burned here, and some people even said that she had them boiled alive in pots of oil left over from the fat here at the market. This building was completely destroyed in World War II, but it's been rebuilt.
So she was really boiling. So London, see, okay, I didn't want to say it because I'd never been here before, and I feel like I'm a guest in a foreign land. But y'all did a lot of wild stuff to people out here.
Well, I could tell you nice history too. If you would like to go on my channel, you can see pretty paintings and artifacts with zero murder. But I'm talking to Dalen Spratt. I'm going to tell him about some murder, some executions, some ghosts, some graveyards.
You're not on the run or anything, are you? So what's your story? You're from Canada.
I'm from Canada, from Vancouver. I came here originally 11 years ago. I moved here to do I used to live in Nepal and in India, and I came here to do a master's degree, and I was going to go back into working in international development. But I fell in love with London, and I accidentally fell in love with an Englishman.
They get you every time.
I stayed. I did part of a PhD. I didn't finish it, and maybe one day I'll finish it. And I studied contested heritage and memorials.
What is contested heritage?
Means when different people have different ideas about how to commemorate something or like build a monument or memorial. And actually, contested heritage in the States, of course, all the statues and stuff that people are bringing down. Different people want to remember history differently.
Exactly.
And they want to build different kinds of monuments. And so that's what I studied. Like tension between how different people want to physically remember things.
Oh, that's really, really interesting. I didn't even know that was like a course of study.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you fell in love, and then you decided to stay here. And you've been here how long?
11 years.
11 years.
Yeah.
Is this home for good, or?
Well, the problem is, and anybody on your channel who is living where they're in a foreign land will identify with this, is what I've accidentally done is made myself always a little bit homesick. Because when I'm here, I'm homesick for Canada, and when I'm in Canada, I'm homesick for here.
Got you.
But here is home.
Is it going to be not difficult, but are there any differences? Because you are Canadian and your love is English, and so you guys are raising a little baby now.
Yeah.
Is it different raising with someone that's...
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely differences in the culture. Mm-hmm. My biggest thing is that I want her to be able to go like real camping and go to like not British camping.
Right.
Where they just go sit in a field. I want to like her to go in the forest. I want her to have that Canadian childhood that I had, but she'll have a different childhood.
That's cool. Right, Texas and Georgia. So
the only reason I know you're from Texas is because your phone number came up Texas. Okay, so this is one of my favorite places. This is really a great place to come at night, but it's lovely to come in the day as well. This is the Charter House, and the Charter House is a modern English way of saying that this was a Carthusian monastery. And behind us here we can see the old monastery buildings. Today this is a museum. It just opened as a museum, I think in 2021. It was during the pandemic. So it's very cool, it's free, and it's well worth going into. The Charter House square is where we're standing right now. You can even see they've got, it was a Tudor palace. Queen Elizabeth I stayed here. She was Bloody Mary's sister. But it was for the London Underground station nearby that opened a couple of years ago. About 15 years ago, they needed to start doing some archaeological survey on the area because a new London Underground station kind of disrupts the ground. They want to make sure that they're not going to disrupt any archaeology that's in the area. For London, if you're digging anywhere beneath the surface, this city is more than 2,000 years old. It was founded by the Romans in AD 43, and so you're always going to have an archaeologist on your team if you're building anything. And as they started digging, they began to discover something that we had lost for the last 700 years. Beneath our feet, they began to discover plague victims from the 1348 plague that took place here in London, as well as the 1361 plague, and even plague bodies from the 1665 plague, the bubonic plague, the Black Death. In 1348, it killed 60, that is 60% of Londoners.
What?
And they had to be buried somewhere. And so, on the grounds of the monastery, was considered to be a good spot. And underneath our feet, it's estimated that this is the largest plague pit in Europe, with between 70,000 and 120,000 skeletal remains. Only 108 have been removed for study, and they're at the Museum of London, but the rest are here beneath our feet. This is a massive plague grave.
Plague pit.
Now, when we say
kinda
pit,
catchy.
it sounds like they were just like dumped in the ground. They weren't. The ground was consecrated, and they were buried with some measure of care, and that was a mistake because they were contagious.
So it spread.
So taking longer.
Yeah.
The plague, of course, was spread by fleas on rats, but they didn't know that at the time. They were just making things much, much worse.
Plague pit is catchy though.
Plague pit.
That's
Anywhere you're standing in London, if you're standing somewhere nice and you're like, this is a nice spot, I wonder why no one ever built here. It's because it's a plague pit.
oh wow. Wow. Yo.
Inside.
No, go ahead. You said inside?
Inside, if you want to go inside, there is a display about this. You could film a little bit of it. There's a skeleton with a lit candle. It's very atmospheric. It looks really good on camera.
Really?
It's free.
She's speaking my language, y'all. It's free. I'm just playing.
Most of our museums are free. You like that? Look at the skulls on the ground.
That is. What do those skulls mean or
So
represent?
those skulls are what are called memento mori, which essentially means remember that you too shall die. And it sounds very like goth and morbid, and it is, but it's also very Christian. So it's the idea that you're going to remember that death is coming for us all, so that you will live a pure and spiritual life when you're here on earth.
So it's not as creepy as people. Well, it's still creepy, but
I was just going to say, it's still
no, it's creepy. Just trying to find the brighter side of things, guys. So there's no upkeep to that over there. Do they ever maintain it?
This is intentional. This has been, this is intentionally left like this so that it is like a nature preserve in the heart of the city. This is really good for bees, birds, and squirrels.
I'm not gonna lie to you. That just sounds like an excuse for somebody not to do their job.
Highgate has been intentionally left like this is really bizarre. You can see here lies Dame Mary Page, relics of Sir Gregory Page Bart. She departed this life March 4th, 1728 in the 56th year of her age, but that's not the weird part. The weird part's over here. It's really gross. In 67 months, she was tapped 66 times, had taken away 240 gallons of water without ever repining at her case or ever fearing the operation. What the hell does that mean?
I was about to say, what does that mean?
Well, when you first look at, when I would see tapped 66 times, the first thing I would think of course, would be bloodletting, which was really common in this time in history, but it's not. She had a kind of disease, I think it's referred to as dropsy, where her abdomen would fill with fluid, and so she was tapped, meaning the fluid was drained from her abdomen 66 times in 67 months. And I love this bit here because this is supposed to be like a compliment, that she never feared the operation. Because remember, at this time in history, we don't have any germ theory or any antiseptic. Like, this is, you're risking your life every time you have this done.
So she did it 66 times with no fear.
Yeah, so that was like, what a good woman.
Wow, that is wild. And I think it's interesting that they have like everything blocked off like that. I just feel like in the States,
specifically because in this one case, just because we're in the heart of the city,
yeah,
and there could potentially be like vandalism and things.
Oh, we know that.
Yeah. Highgate Cemetery has a very famous case of vandalism in the 1960s and 70s that was called the Highgate Vampire, and there were rumors of like satanic cults and things. It's all completely baseless, but it's because there was a lot of vandalism. When you go to Highgate, you can take a tour. It's I think £18, and it's 90 minutes long, and that's I recommend the tour. Just Google what time it's being offered on Monday, and that'll give you like the lay of the land and tell you all about the cemetery, and then you can go back and film. How do you know where to enter the tomb? Something like this is a family tomb. It's meant to house many generations. Sometimes these go like 20 feet into the ground. And so if you want to add more bodies, do you take the top off? No, there's a clue here to let you know how to get in. It says entrance.
Oh, wow.
Notice it doesn't say exit.
Right. So there's literally multi-generational families.
In a lot of these would be designed. Something this big would be designed. It's called a vault.
Right. Because y'all know I be calling stuff like that everything but what it's supposed to be called. We call these condominiums. This is when we go to resting communities, we call these condominiums.
Look at the fancy one with the Egyptian style at the top. There's a whole Egyptian section at Highgate Cemetery as well, with all Egyptian style that was popular in the 1860s.
That's wild.
Do you notice one thing? You're not seeing any crosses or any other religious symbols, because Bunhill Fields or Bunhill Row is actually a dissenters graveyard. This is a graveyard for non-believers for people that were other kinds of religions that weren't allowed to be buried in a Church of England or Catholic cemetery. So people that were Quakers, Methodists, other kinds of Christian, or simply non-believers would be buried here. And that's why we don't have a lot of religious iconography or religious symbolism. There's another one of those unusual shaped graves that we saw back at the churchyard. This originally, this churchyard dates all the way back to the 1660s.
That's wild.
Oh, and the name is cool too. So it's Bunhill Row or Bunhill Fields, which is just sounds kind of normal to us, but it comes from Bone Hill. The idea that this was there's been a burial ground here, they believe, even since Celtic times, since pre-Roman times, and so that's where the etymology is that it was Bone Hill, which turns eventually into Bun Hill. And speaking of Bun, there's John Bunyan, who wrote The Pilgrim's Progress, and he's buried here. He's got a nice effigy on top.
Oh, now this is cool. This is cool, y'all. Y'all know we like different types of monuments and headstones and tombs. What y'all think about putting a life-size statue of yourself laying on top of yourself? I don't know, guys. That might be it. So you said this is famed poet
William Blake.
William Blake. For all of my
Literature fans.
There we go. Nearby lie the remains of the poet, what does that say? Painter William Blake, 1757 to 1827, and of his wife, Catherine Sophia. And let's not forget about Catherine, y'all.
And here's the grave of Daniel Defoe, who wrote Robinson Crusoe.
Oh, wow. the author of Robinson Crusoe. Now, was it just happenstance that they were buried next to each other? Like, is this just like a creative corner?
Do you not notice the wording?
What does it say?
That he's buried nearby.
Yeah.
Because here when they closed it, so that people wouldn't try to go trampling and go find his real grave.
Do you know where his real grave is?
Somewhere in here.
Where are you, William?
Here's some cool graveyard symbolism, and you can see that there's an urn covered with a shroud. So you can see there's like this shawl draped over the urn. So this represents like the end of life, going like a barrier going into the next life.
Got you. Y'all, it's pretty wild the things that you just randomly see when walking through London. I'm looking for a very specific grave, and the GPS took me through this little cutway through this park. And I was like, oh, look at the basketball court. Maybe I can get a pickup game. I wonder who's waiting. Oh. That's what I get for trying to tell jokes. I had stuff on my face. But y'all, look at these headstones. Literally up against this fence. Like they're waiting on a pickup game. Like our friend Jessica said, literally everywhere in London is a graveyard. It's like you're in any other neighborhood park. But resting here, ironically, you have, what is this, Mrs. Hooper? That's funny. M-Man Hooper. That's the irony. Peace and blessings to all those resting. I guess one of those that are playing basketball will always have a forever audience. That's cool. I got my earpods in. I forgot to take them out, so we'll see how this video sounds with these in. But y'all, I am here. I'm at the Joseph Grimaldi Park in London. So, people that don't know, Joseph Grimaldi is one of the most notorious actor, comedians, and infamous clowns that you will ever meet. So in the 1700s, this dude like literally made the idea, the dream, the reality of being a clown like the biggest thing on earth. He was like that dude in the 1700s. Y'all remember when Jim Carrey had that run back in the day? I'm talking about when he was Ace Ventura. He did all that little run, y'all. That was Joseph in the 1700s. So much so that even his son that he had ended up becoming a clown as well. But the thing about Joseph, later on in his life, he ended up losing the majority of his wealth. He became an alcoholic, and yeah, his time just kind of withered away here in London. But upon him passing away, they buried him right here in this park. Right here. And what's interesting about this is they even allow you to dance on his grave. Rest in peace, Joseph Grimaldi, 1778 to 1837. And you're actually encouraged to come here and dance on the grave of Joseph. Psych, I'm just playing, y'all. This is an art installation that's dedicated to Joseph. Joseph is actually buried around here on this corner. But this art installation was something that was, you know, built and dedicated to Joseph and Charles Didbin. So you're actually encouraged to come here, walk on top of this grave, which plays music. So, yeah, don't be mad at me, guys. I'm gonna show y'all the real grave. All right, so let me actually take y'all to Mr. Grimaldi's actual grave. It's only about, 50 feet away from his monument, which is cool, because, he was a clown. He loved to make people laugh. So why not have an art installation and dedication to you? But here is his final resting space. Mr. Joseph Grimaldi, 1778 to 1837. Joseph Grimaldi was 3 years old when he first went on stage of Sadler's Wells with his father and worked there for 45 years as a performer and part proprietor. From his debut in 1806 at Covent Garden and Mother Goose, he was adored by all and could fill a theater anywhere. The name Joey has passed into our language to mean a clown. He lived all his life among the people of Clerkenwell and died at 33 Southampton Street, now called Cowshot Street. Council has called the park in which he lies buried the Joseph Grimaldi Park to commemorate a great artist and a great man. That's solid. That's solid. Seems like he's one of the few people resting over here. He has a park named after him. And people still come to remember him literally hundreds of years later. Mr. Joseph Grimaldi, ladies and gentlemen. What's going on, Graveyard Shit family? Y'all, I am digging London. London has been a really good vibe. This is my first time being here. Stacy's with her partners doing their thing, their beer thing. I am out here alone doing my ghost thing. But our good friend Jessica, she told me about this gentleman, Joseph Grimaldi. And I saw on her video where you could come and you could visit the art installation. And she told me that he was actually buried literally feet away from the art installation. So I thought it would be cool for us to come over here and to pay our respect for entertainers across the pond. That's a horrible English accent, y'all. But I think Joseph would probably appreciate this just because of who he was as an entertainer, a comedian, an actor, thespian. I mean, you over-popularize clowns so much that they call them your name, Joey. That's cool, man. You was doing it back in the 1700s. The 1700s, man. That's cool. That's cool. Well, Joseph, man, my name is Dalen. I'm actually from America. I come from a place called Atlanta, Georgia. I work in entertainment myself. I used to strip. No, I'm just playing. I'm just messing with you, man. But no, I come to resting communities all over I can say world now because I'm here. and I try to speak to those who may not have been spoken to in a long time. I'm sure you probably get people visiting you often, but I would love for my visitors all over the world, my subscribers all over the world, to know about you and know your story. So I would love to communicate with you. I can hear you through this box. You are actually my first spirit box session that I'm doing here in London. So I would love to hear from you. And I know if you're here, I know you would come through. I know the entertainer in you would would urge you to perform. All right, here we go. All right, Joseph. Here we go. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to me?
Moving.
Think so?
Yes. Yeah.
Can you tell me your name?
You know what?
I heard Joseph.
I want to go.
What's up, Joseph?
Right there.
He's there. Joseph. All right, now that we know that you're here, man, do you mind if we have a conversation with you? His name again. Okay. Okay, so Joseph. Back in the 1700s, what urged you to find a career in comedy and acting and being a clown? Like, what made you step out and forge a path in that field? I'm sure you could have done other things, or there were other things that may have been more lucrative, or, you know what I mean? Like, what made you choose that path? Something about a financial decision? It's very misleading. So, let me ask you this. Even as a child, were you always the type of person that loved to entertain? Like, I used to get in trouble in school all the time for talking too much. Hey, look at your boy now. I'm a YouTuber. No, I'm just wondering, like, were you always that type of person? Like, did everyone always look to you for a good laugh? And if so, how did that make you feel? Did you always like entertaining people? Did your personality ever get you in trouble? Normally it would. Did you always feel different from everyone else? So at what point did you know that you were destined to do something totally different?
There.
The change that you brought forth in the lane that you forged was so significant that they literally remember you to this day. You were like the forefather, the godfather, the boss. How does it feel to be labeled as such?
Well,
Do you feel like you had a successful life? If you could change anything in your life, what would it be?
Hitting me.
Do you feel like you accomplished everything you wanted to while living? So they said even with all your success, life still ended kind of somberly for you. You outlived your wife and your son. How did that make you feel during that time? Did losing them make you lose the love for what you were doing? Do you have any regrets towards the end of your life? So you have an audience of people listening here. Is there anything that you would like to say or a message you would like to convey? We're here listening. Okay, Joseph, I would love to try this other spirit box. A lot of people don't like it, but hey, I just want to see how you react with it. Okay. Joseph, are you still here? If you're still here, can you tell me your name? But can you say your name though? I can't move forward until I hear you say your name. Here, let me try the other one. Let's see if he can come back. Okay, Joseph, can you say your name on this one? What's your name? Can you say your name one more time?
No.
Well, just for clarity, I wasn't trying to test you. I was trying to test the validity of the listening device that I was using. But that's fair. You don't have to say your name anymore, Joseph. I understand. You lived a life of performance. Now you want to rest. Is that true? Well, Joseph, I appreciate your time, sir. Do you enjoy when people come to visit you? Well, thank you for your time. And that is a wrap for Joseph Grimaldi. That's cool, y'all. I'm anxious to go back and hear the responses. He sure said no. We asked him to say his name again. Like, hey, either you know me or you know me, brother. And you acted like you don't know me. Y'all, let's go see what else we can get into in London. I got some really, really cool investigation stories to hit while I'm out here. I'm trying to explore, my allergies. I'm trying to explore one of these Jack the Ripper stories. Maybe I can connect with one of his victims. And two brothers that raised hell all up and through this area. So stay tuned. I got some more content coming your way. Love, love, love. Peace and love, Joseph. Let's give you another round of applause, brother. Catch you next time. Family, before I let y'all go, I have to remind you that Graveyard Fest 2024 is on October 11th and 12th in New Orleans. Y'all, if you want to come out and kick it with your Graveyard Shift family, if you want to see me, Stacy, maybe even Axel, come on out to New Orleans, Louisiana, October the 11th and 12th for our inaugural Graveyard Fest. This is Graveyard Fest 2024, y'all. We got a weekend of events. I'm talking about ghost hunts, haunted pub crawls. We even linking up with the infamous Bloody Mary to tour her haunted museum. Y'all, we kicking it all weekend. So if you want to be with me and the Graveyard Shift family and seeing some of your favorite people, please come on out to New Orleans, October the 11th and 12th, and kick it with about 50 of your Graveyard Shift family from all around the world. We only got a few tickets left, y'all. The link to the tickets is in the description of this video. Click on it, get your tickets, and I cannot wait to hang out with you guys personally in October in New Orleans. Love, love, love.